Welcome to today's webinar, Hands-on Lab, Windows Workloads on AWS. As a quick note, today's webinar is being recorded, and over the next few days, we will send you a follow-up email with the on-demand links to both the presentation deck and the webinar recording. And again, welcome to today's webinar, Hands-on Lab, Windows Workloads on AWS. Our presenter today is Latin. Today with us, we also have a team of awesome moderators who are excited to engage with you and answer any questions that you have. Alex, Alan, and Brian. They are our webinar moderators, again, who will engage with any questions that you have. So keep them coming. They're excited to practice their typing skills as we go through the webinar today. Zlatan, welcome. The floor is now yours, so you may unmute your microphone and begin the presentation.
Hello, everybody. My name is Zlatan. I work for AWS. I'm part of the professional services team. We're like the SEAL Team 6 when it comes to doing hands-on work for all things AWS. Really want you to enjoy this session. This is an intro-level session for Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud for Microsoft Windows. A little bit about myself. I've been working with AWS for several years now. However, before that, I've been working with Microsoft in several positions. I was Microsoft Most Valuable Professional for many years. I worked with various Ranger teams like TFS and SQL Ranger teams. I've also worked with Microsoft Research on some occasions, and I worked with many international massive customers as well as small to medium customers on implementing, delivering, and architecting Microsoft workloads. We are very passionate about Microsoft here at AWS. We are very passionate about running Microsoft workloads. So I hope you enjoy this. I will start off first with an introduction about what AWS is and really kind of what we bring to the table. So why do we have traditional computing challenges? Well, there's heavy upfront expense. We usually can't really utilize everything that we use, right? So we have to invest heavily into building these massive infrastructures, right? Because we need to do capacity planning in future, and we need to compensate for how our business is going to grow, and we never quite know really how that is going to pan out. And in case our business does grow at a rate that we expected, we need to be able to compensate for that. The actual so most of the hardware that we actually provision is not going to be utilized properly. We're going to have to grow at slow rate if we haven't provisioned enough, and it will cost us a ton of money to do so, right? So what's really appealing about the cloud in general and AWS? Because your capital expenditure becomes your variable expense, right? So your CapEx becomes your OpEx, and you effectively get to just use exactly what you need. I mean, to give you an analogy, when you need light, you switch on the light, and electric distribution sends you electricity for the light. When you don't need the light anymore, you can just switch it back off, and you're not paying for it anymore, right? So you can by that way you can then use any particular capacity that you may need when you need it, and then take that or like switch that off like in a switch way, and not use it when you don't need to do so. It also allows you to actually have this elasticity by actually growing and shrinking as needed. So let's say if you have heavy workflow usage for a particular part of the year, let's say if you're doing taxes or calculations around, and you have workloads that are running these things, or doing specific business intelligence workloads and so on, you can just use the capacity that you need for that particular time, and you can go back in. You can also be agile enough to answer any particular workload. Let's say you have really demanding website with heavy media utilization. You can very easily scale out as you need it, as your user base grows, and as the number of people grow even per second, never mind the per minute and per day and per month. and then answer that through both the agility and elasticity side of things. You have a better use of a lot of scarce resources, so we have many services to offer, which I will be talking about in a minute. And you can really go global quickly. You can actually span out and replicate this architecture very easily by means of using things like infrastructure as a code and automation aspects of what AWS has got to offer, and just burst out to the rest of the world. We have many services that actually support all of this functionality. Everything from management tools that we have, the main bit, which is the platform services, which we're going to be going over with EC2. We have many enterprise applications which actually give you software as a service. We have hybrid cloud management aspects to support hybrid cloud architectures, as we understand that a lot of you will, transitionally still live in both on-premise and the cloud world for a while until you actually go all the way to the cloud. And we pride ourselves, in security and management aspects. When it comes to AWS specifically, we are obsessed about security just as much as we are obsessed about you as the customer. We have infrastructure services. We have right now we have 16 regions with 42 availability zones. It's really important to stress here that availability zones are clusters of data centers that are basically apart from each other on a different fault plane, on a different flood plane, many miles from each other, where it's not really possible for, or it's very difficult to get more than one availability zone to be down due to any natural or unnatural disaster that may occur. And the actual available design when it comes to specifically Microsoft workloads and spanning across multiple availability zones allows for us to have architectures that already include disaster recovery scenarios that were really expensive in the past for us and required a lot of money, whether investments in a colo center or other data centers outside to do so. You don't need to do that anymore. So what type of benefits does Windows get out of this? So first of all, it is tremendous amounts of work that we've done, specifically Windows focused when it comes to AWS. We are, like I said earlier, we are obsessed about security. Okay, so we have everything from having top-notch security from a physical perspective on all of our data centers. We do adhere to many requirements, both from a government and corporate sector, that fulfilled your requirements for running workloads securely, independently, and in complete isolation where necessary. We do have a shared security model where we allow you to build security applications and architectures that fit specifically your business and your criteria using our services on top of a secure physical architecture that we provide. It is reliable, like I said. So I mentioned what actual availability zones are, and with respect to what the regions are and all that. So effectively, just deploying a single architecture in between two availability zones, which could be 50 or more miles away from each other, you will have duplicate workloads running in both availability zones, which with single-digit latencies between them, basically LAN level speeds that you're going to get between them, right? You can run synchronous applications between SQL and other workloads, and you can effectively have stretch. The concept of what we used to call stretch files back in the days is not stretched anymore, right? And that's the benefit that we've got to offer. High performance. We have had many testaments from various independent parties saying that how many more compute power we have compared to our competitors, and we offer not just high performance computing, but high performance hardware for any type of workload that you may run, and this very much includes Windows workloads, right? We offer actual dedicated lines for our instances to the storage networks that we have, and we optimize the speed to which you get that. We do have ability also to provision IOPS when necessary and provide you with the right bandwidth that your instances or workloads specifically may require. And in that, I've seen personally, just from my experience, unprecedented performance, many times better for equal specs than the on-premise in some cases. Now, this is obviously something that I would expect you guys to test out and make sure that it works appropriately on your side as well. Familiar. It is extremely familiar from an interface perspective of how you want to run and start instances in there. There's a lot of simplicity around, and we have things like wizards and that a lot of people in the Microsoft community are very much familiar with, down to services such as System Manager, which allow desired state configuration management services through State Manager. We have specific Patch Manager just for Windows, for patching Windows, for managing Windows patches, maintenance Windows, as well as automation that allow you to actually perform administrative tasks on Windows instances themselves, specific to Windows instances. Cost effective. It's extremely cost effective from a sense that we offer any type of, never mind just running with lighter resources, running in a more agile, more elastic way, but also that you can rent licenses from us and use licenses as you need, which means that you don't have to have large investments, not just on the hardware side, but also for your EAs and for your licensing side of things. You can also bring your own license, or you can utilize the license mobility aspect of your licensing to actually use that same licensing on AWS. It is very extensive. We have probably more services that you'll ever need to offer. We have around 60 services, and when it comes to services and features together, as of April, we've actually, as of end of 2016, we've had 1,047 features and services, and as of the end of April, we have another 236 added on. This is cumulative, both features and services. So we have, like I said, the layered security approach. We have isolation from an infrastructure perspective, and for the workloads, we can make sure that your both hardware is isolated, that you're running, whether it's for your security or whether it's for your licensing aspects that you need, so you can have your, both. So I was talking about the security and the security approach. I talked about the security in layers, everything from a physical security side of things up to the hypervisor level that we offer, and then the shared security responsibility model that we have with our customers that have specific needs around building solutions that we help them build that are both secure and compliant with what they need to run using our services. I talked about the ability to isolate the infrastructure. We can isolate both hardware. We can make sure that it's encrypted on our hardware side, or on using our KMS service for encryption at rest as well for our data, and we can make sure that the actual communication as well is encrypted. We have identity and access control, both that supports federation with many different many different platforms, including ADFS, and above all, the auditing and compliance aspects. Not just the compliance that we have, from like SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3. We can provide DoD level 2 and level 4. We have the FedRAMP and FISMA compliance, ISO 27001, ISO 8001, and so on. So these are all the compliance aspects that we have got to offer. It's reliable. So what you see here, the 99.95 SLA percentage is specifically for the EC2 service. We have also 99.9% SLA for S3, which is our simple storage service that handles multiple trillions of objects every day. We're peaking at million transactions per second, literally every day at least. We have uptime and performance monitoring. Basically what we also offer you internally, as well as we allow you to use your own tools that you've been using before. You can
Familiar is the next bit that I wanted to talk to you about. Like I said, you have a familiar way of both creating all of your assets and all of your instances, all of your virtual servers, and also managing of the same. Not only do you have a familiar way of managing the actual servers and creating EC2 instances, but you also have integration for developers with Visual Studio. I am really impressed the level of work that our team has done with Visual Studio. You will find that support for things like microservices, for amazing services like simple queuing service and simple authentication service that are commonly used as key parts of the architecture for many applications that our customers run, how well integrated they are specifically with Visual Studio. Then also building Lambda functions, which now, by the way, support C# as well, so you can actually program in C# with all of these, and you can use all of these and other components, things like API Gateway, which you can just add or create APIs based on your existing services or new services, and it's great for compensating if you have legacy services behind and you want to make them up to date. So all of these things you can actually peel off and not use more complex parts of your application or even your enterprise applications and utilize our services from a development perspective. You have, like I said, System Center has plugins for managing and monitoring all aspects of AWS. You also have our tools that you can use, and they're quite easy and straightforward to use. I implore you to actually go ahead and look into all of those. Cost effective, we talked about the capital expense and variable expense change and switch. You don't have any long-term commitments. You can just use and rent licenses as you need. Not only can you do that for basic server licenses and SQL licenses, but some of our partners also offer for you to rent licenses for things like SharePoint and so on through Marketplace. You get to switch that light on and off when you need to use it. You don't have to buy into these massive and really expensive enterprise agreements in order to do so. And we can save you a lot of money in the process as well by doing so. Like I said earlier, we have more than 60 services. When we combine it with all the features that we have, that number comes to 1,074, which is a massive number, with another 236 services being added until, as of 1st of April now. We have 2,500 ISVs on our marketplace with many marketplace offerings. You will find all of your common appliances if you really like using your proxy servers like Palo Alto and so on. If you really like using specific appliances like network load balancing appliances like Netscale and so on, you will find actual and F5 and so on. You will find appliances in a marketplace for that. So all of these things that you're really familiar with, they will be available to you. And you can customize the architecture and infrastructure however you want. By means of using things like CloudFormation, you can build out infrastructure as a code, your entire infrastructure, from bottom to top, everything, right? You can specify every down to bootstrapping the instances and how they're going to work, your network, your security. You can create different layers, as we really suggest you should do anyway. I implore you also to take a look at, I will share this link as well, our Quick Start. If you just put in Google AWS and Quick Start, you will actually get to that page. We have created many CloudFormation templates for you to use. I implore you to go ahead and check those out and run those. They will run entire environments in your account, things like Active Directory, SQL Server, SharePoint, Exchange, Link, and so on. And what's really great about it is that you can just pin up these environments as you need it. So let's say you want to replicate the same environment, you want to start using blue-green deployments and so on, you can easily do so. You want to create another environment for testing, or you want to test out your your updates or your patches and so on, you can do so. You want to actually go and extend and start going global and start for lower latency, deploying the same things in different regions. Start doing that in Asia Pacific regions, in China, in India, in Japan, or Europe, let's say, and so on. You can do so, and it's really quick and really fast. And I'd love to have more time to talk to you about that as well. So there are many benefits to run Windows workloads. We are very Windows friendly. We run all common Windows workloads on AWS for many of our customers daily. We are obsessed about running Windows workloads on AWS. We have many tools to help you out. If you don't want to, let's say, or don't use System Center and find it too expensive, we have something called System Manager that I talked about earlier that allows you to manage all aspects of patching, monitoring, and automation scripts, which allow you to actually perform administrative tasks, as well as run commands, which allow you to run Powershell scripts remotely to multiple servers. And when it comes to actual managing of AWS resources, which we commonly do via CLI, we have Powershell, and you can use Powershell to manage all aspects of AWS, which is pretty amazing, should I say so myself. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction. This is really a 101 of network design and what it's got to offer. So basically, as you can see, we have a region, and within the region, we would create a VPC that denotes our network, right? And what denotes the VPC network is denoted by header range box that you see there, which denotes what the IP range or IP range that we're going to have available for use and IPs within our network. And then for every availability zone or for designated private, public, and protected, we will have a separate subnet. And those subnets contain route tables, route tables basically contain definition of how the traffic is going to be routed between subnets. We then deploy specific EC2 instances in those subnets. If we were to attach, for example, an internet gateway to a subnet that becomes a public subnet, means that it's accessible like a DMZ, accessible from the internet and can be used so from there. If it's not connected, we can actually, but we need to pull, let's say, updates from the internet for our servers that are not in a public or DMZ, but internal private subnet. We can configure net gateways to allow netting, which is basically, translation, network translation to for outbound traffic, just to get in the update specific, and you can kind of whitelist where these things are coming from as well, in an ultimately secure way. And then you can also have the protected internal ones, and so on. You can either form a VPN connection, as normal IPsec tunnel, or you can use direct connect, which will actually give you a 10G or 1G connection, which is literally leased line directly into our data center. And that'll give you the most optimal speed, direct fiber from your providers or your colo centers into AWS. And with that, I just want to go and start a demo of what we're going to be doing today. So hopefully I'm going to share. And hopefully you guys can see my desktop. So by now, while I was talking, and also more importantly, while due to technical difficulties, I lost my connection twice. Hopefully you had enough time to actually set up your account and go and find the Creating Amazon EC2 Instances with Microsoft Windows. So what you're going to do is start a lab. You can go ahead and do that, or you can just watch me do it and then do it later. And quite simply, first thing what you need to do, make sure that you download TEM, which is your key that we're going to use to decrypt and get the password for the server we're going to create. And then we're going to open the console, and you can see the console goes ahead and opens up directly. So the service we're going to be working with today, and I've tried to look at a lot of other services. The screen is not big enough to show all of them. Is EC2, which is the main service for running virtual instances. What I would like you to do, you could have actually done that both on the dashboard by clicking here, Launch Instance, or you can just click on Running Instances and click Launch Instance. So I'm going to just click Launch Instance. I'm going to deviate a little bit from the script here because it has 2012 R2. I'm going to just choose 2016 more just to show you that it works. And you can use 2016. You don't have to use 2012 R2 in case that happens to be the question. And you can go ahead and use T2 Micro, or you can use any other instance specifically for running this. I want you guys to open up the advanced details bit, and you'll see this thing here called user data. This great user data bit is really where you can actually put in the scripts that you want to run, PowerShell scripts that you want to bootstrap the instance with that you're starting. So this is where your bootstrapping really goes in. So I'm going to go and go down. We have actually got a nice update for those of you if you happen to be at these workshops before. We had a separate sheet to do so. Now we don't have to do it. So great news. You can just copy directly from the actual manual that you see here. So I'm going to go at that. I'm going to go add storage. I'm going to give it 100 just in case. I'm going to add a key, which is name, and I will call this WinLab. In security groups, you can see that by default we have the RDP opening, and remember you have network ACLs which basically control the access and the ports and protocols open within the subnet, and security groups do that on a instance level. And one thing to make sure, you don't have to have a separate security group for every instance. You can have one security group, and you can encompass many instances of fleets of servers into that. Common scenario in Windows side of things, from my experience, is things like domain members have their own security group, and then specific application and web service, let's say on the SharePoint side, have those security groups as well. And so I would choose HTTP and HTTPS. And although I'm kind of going quickly because this is a demo, you can actually define which source here is coming from and all that. By saying 0, that means everybody's allowed to connect to. Otherwise, you can just put specific IPs or IP ranges that are allowed to connect to it. And you can see we kind of got a review of everything that we've done. I'm going to go ahead and launch this. You can then choose the QuickLabs key pair that is provided. We actually downloaded that specific one. And I'm going to click Launch Instance. Okay. So this is going to take a couple of minutes. While it's taking a couple of minutes, a couple of things about it. As you can see, first of all, it's showing you live what the instance state is. This is pretty awesome. It will show you basically 2 levels. It will go 1 out of 2, 2 out of 2, which is kind of your system and environment level checks that we do for you as the instance is initializing. You can actually here see all the information about it. You can see the security group that we've created just now. You can see the AMI that we've used. This is the image that we're using here. You can see the public DNS that is being assigned to it. You can see the public IP, and you should see the private IP as well and the private DNS that is being assigned to it. You can see the network interfaces that we have in there. You can see the status checks. It's still loading the system status and instance status check. You can see the monitoring, the basic monitoring of the instance that we provide you, and the tags that we've added to the whole thing. Another thing that I wanted to show you while this is running, all the people have asked, hey, but I don't know what's happening, or if the if the instance is lagging or something like that. Why is it taking so long? You can actually get an instance screenshot and see exactly where it is before it's ready for us to connect to it and all that sort of stuff. So if it's stuck into something for you admins and all that sort of stuff, you can firsthand see this, right? And you can keep on refreshing. Like I did now, as you can see, it's already loaded up and the service is up. So this is pretty great, right? You must agree. So let me go back to instances. So we should be almost there with the system checks coming through. So another thing is now that we would want, it might still take a little bit. I'm going to be adventurous, and I'm going to say connect to it. So, so pretty cool thing about this is that first of all, you can just download your remote desktop file that will work with both your Windows as well as your Mac client. So to show you that this thing works, I have both my Windows and my Mac laptop. I'm actually doing this on my Mac laptop to show you that it works with the remote desktop client. I can just click on that and you can see it's actually going to go and try and connect. And provided all of this stuff is started already, it'll do it fairly quickly. Here we go. But it's the first time, so as you can understand, it might take a little bit. Here we go. So now, this is very important, and this is only really specific for, because it kind of goes and also tries to connect you when you're doing it with Microsoft Remote Desktop on Mac. You'll see now we don't have the password, so we need to go back and get the password, right? So I'm going to kill this for now, and I'm going to go ahead and get the password. So the way to get the password is to click here and say get password, and then you can choose the PAN key that we've just downloaded. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to say decrypt, and you can see here that the password got decrypted. So you don't really want to go ahead and copy that. I'll rather switch over to the remote desktop. I will click edit, and this is 35, 6, oh no, this is the wrong one. Let me just do this one. 63. So here I will just put in my password. I will close it down. I'll just double click, and I'll say go ahead and continue. And here we are. This is a local admin password that is created. You can, a couple of things you can do. We can automate the joining to a domain. You can actually deploy a couple of DCs and extend your domain. You can use we have as part of our managed service, managed Microsoft Active Directory service, which is AWS Directory Services, or part of the AWS Directory Services span of services that we offer. You can have full Microsoft Active Directory running there. You can then you can establish a trust between it, or you can just extend your existing one, or you can federate over. You have so many options. Really, I can't imagine any option from a cloud perspective that you do not have available. And so on. So so this is pretty awesome. You can automate so that as soon as this new instance comes up, it automatically joins the domain. And that's one of the things that the system manager can do for you, and so on, or you can even bootstrap the image to do that for you any which way you want to. It's quite easy to set up. So I am in Windows Server 2016, so if I click on the Server Manager, what I actually included when I bootstrapped the image was to install IIS, right? So hang on. If I go over here, and if I show you, see, install Windows Feature Web Server, right? So I'm going to show immediately. It's going to take some time until it installs. and then it will actually show itself. It will actually come up here. So I'm going to give it some time to go ahead and do that while it's doing it. So it's doing its thing. It's a little bit eager, but as you can see, these are all the steps that I actually went through and that you're going to be going through right now. Everything down to decrypting the file, and then down to basically running the or configuring the Windows instance, which is basically being done for us right now. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to go, once the web server is ready, let's try this. Try and reload it, see if we're there yet. You'll give it a couple of minutes to do so. Hopefully we're going to get there. Okay, it's still starting up these things. It will get there eventually. So a couple of things as well. Like I said, you can use a state manager, which is very similar to the desired state configuration server. That will actually let you not just configure all of your instances that you can define by metadata, but and you can define entire fleets of servers literally. Let me show you that quickly. By providing these tags over here, and you can say whatever is tagged in a particular way, then include those. The system manager is here, and there's state manager. You can also and not only can you actually go ahead and configure all the instances, but you can also provide a rule from a compliance perspective to maintain these particular configurations and monitor that everything is in place. So if something is not compliant, you'll be able to find out, and you'll be able to automatically go ahead and reconfigure it back to what it was and what it should be. Let's see if this guy is ready for us. So it seems we are fine and ready. It's actually running up. Here's our site. This is our default website. So if we actually go ahead and browse this website, it should be running. So I've used a really low instance. I suggest you actually use a higher instance than I think I had 1 gig of RAM and 1 processor, right? So I'm not giving it much chance over there to start up. So as you know, if this was to actually run on any other hardware, it wouldn't even be able to run. The fact that we can run this on 1 gig of RAM with 1 processor is pretty tremendous. So as you can see, yeah, I can go ahead and use recommended settings, or this is gonna, and you can see the pages here. It's great. It's working. Okay. So we're gonna go stick to this page. So what we're gonna go is that we're going to go ahead and explore this and find the actual page. So over here, I'm going to open this with Notepad. Just kill this. And you can see this is the whole HTML of the page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my lab, and here I'm going to replace this page with this code. So I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to say paste, and here it is. I'm going to say save, and this should be fine. So if I go and here we go. Yes. So what you see here and what I've really replaced, and I want you guys to examine this as well. So these are the links that I've given for instance metadata, instance hostname, availability zones, as well as the user data. So we actually include a whole bunch of metadata with all of the instances, all of our instances, which you can then use your PowerShell scripts that are executed by run commands or basically from bootstrapping the instances, and you can get information about it. So instance metadata, you can get MEID, you can get manifest path, instance actions, everything. You can also get, as you can see, the actual instance host name, and then you can also see in which availability zone you are. So all these things that your scripts may need, even your code, for instance awareness of where you are in AWS, you can actually get that through this API. You can see with the URL 169.254.169.254. This, however, only works on a local host, on the instance itself. So that's very important to note, right? So you can see here also what I wanted to see what the bootstrap or user data is, and here it is. This is what we ran. This is what installed IAF, and that's where we got it. So if I go over here, I can also make this publicly available by assigning a, well, I can also use the public IP that I currently have, but I can also assign a static IP or elastic IP on our side, which is going to give it a permanent IP address. Bear in mind, for things like creating clusters and things, you can actually assign static IPs on the NICs of the EC2 instance itself as well. But this is the easy way of assigning a static IP, because right now I think then if I was to restart this, it would actually go ahead and assign itself a new private IP, a new public IP, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new address. Great. And I'm going to say associate address. I'm going to select, here's my WinLab running, and I'm going to say, and I can say, yeah, use the same IP for the private IP, not just the public, so you can maintain both the public and the private IP aspect. And I can say allow elastic IP to be reassociated, and voila. Right now, I've just created elastic IP. Here's the IP that's got assigned, so now that's attached to this, you can see that the public IP has changed as well as the private IP to the values that I've selected over there. And then I can go ahead and put that in. And as you can see, as I put in the public IP, you can do that right now as well. I have access to, the access to the same page, so the page is publicly available and can be seen. However, because this is internal data executed on a local host, if I click on this, it's actually not going to work, right? Which is good, and it shouldn't. In any case, so that really kind of finishes and concludes this particular demo. You can see here pretty much we test the public IP, and there's a conclusion. That's the end of the lab. So lab shouldn't really take you more than 25 minutes. However, you have, I think, 45 minutes to an hour to go ahead and do it. I'm looking forward to the questions. I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Please go ahead, use this opportunity to start the lab, and I wish you luck, and I'll be here with you answering your questions.